But the losses changed him, real ones, the kind that ripped through bone and memory, losing his family, losing time, losing his place in the world. And I think that the thing that woke him up most was the possibility of losing us, me, our children, the only version of peace he'd ever known. His father's story reads like a haunting echo. Poor, hustled, sold drugs, women everywhere, big talk, small action. Worked hard for himself, never for his family. They came to America hoping to escape poverty, but found it waiting here, dressed in new clothes. Abuse, absence, broken promises, and in all of that, a boy grew into a man with a legacy of silence and survival. So when people say he made his choices, I can't help but wonder, did he ever have any real ones? The system knows poverty breeds desperation. It knows fatherlessness leads to vulnerability. It knows trauma feeds crime, and yet it thrives off the very cycles it claims to condemn. Children who grew up in poverty are more than 5 times as likely to become involved in the criminal justice system by adulthood. And it starts early. He wasn't just failed by his father, he was failed by the kind of system that punishes poverty and calls it discipline. Schools with zero tolerance policies, metal detectors at the door, and more police and counselors. A pipeline designed not to educate boys like him, but to prepare them for prison, quietly, efficiently, and early. This isn't accidental, it's the design. Since the launch of the war on drugs, the U.S. has increased spending on policing and punishment by over 1,000%, while slashing resources for education and public health. The policies may not have named him, but they were built to catch boys like him in the dragnet. They've monetized his pain. From for-profit prisons, backdoor deals between lawyers and judges, to reality shows that reduce our lives to entertainment, his struggle is someone else's paycheck. He was never allowed to be a boy. He had to run to the streets to learn what the world never taught him, how to survive. And every day I imagine what kind of man he could have been if he'd been nurtured, protected, and seen. I saw it in him always. I just didn't know how to reach it. They say education is the great equalizer, but equal for who? Sir Ken Robinson once said the modern school system was built during the Industrial Revolution to meet the needs of industrialization, not the needs of the individual. And that's exactly what we got. A system built to mold, not to liberate. To prepare obedient workers, not free thinkers. Our schools were modeled after the Prussian system, built for obedience, not brilliance. For labor, not liberation. We didn't fail these boys. We built the trap and then blamed them for falling in. If you've never looked into the eyes of someone who was punished for being born into poverty, you will. And when you do, I hope you ask yourself not just what they did, but what they had to survive to just get here. Because the truth is this, they never built the world for boys like him to win, but that won't stop me from helping him rise anyway. Because what other choice is there? I think often about how many men I've passed on the street, men with haunted eyes, hardened faces, anger tucked into every muscle, and how many of them were once just little boys like him. Not broken, just breakable. Not dangerous, just discarded. And when the world discards you enough times, you start to believe you were meant for the trash. But I never believed that about him, not once. Even when it hurt, even when I knew I wanted to walk away, something in me knew his story didn't start with the arrest. It started with the absence, the hunger, the ache. It started long before me, and yet somehow I became part of the part that still hoped. Hope is not soft. It's not naive. Hope in a world like this is resistance, and loving him, that was my rebellion. Because when you love someone the system has marked for failure, you are loving against the odds. You are choosing to see past what the world screams is unforgivable. You are choosing to build, to heal, to carry the pieces the world refuses to pick up. And I carry them. Not perfectly, not always kindly, but I carry them. I carry the memory of that teenage boy who couldn't afford his school lunch but still showed up. I carry the man who tried to learn how to love me while unlearning everything that told him love was weakness. I carry the father who calls every day, even when the calls are expensive, even when the words are hard to find. And I carry the question, who might he have become if the world had simply given him a chance? Because that question doesn't just haunt me, it should haunt all of us.